What's up? Welcome to Thank You Kindly. This is a fun podcast. I'm Max.
I'm Geneva.
And I'm Zach.
Gee, what's Thank You Kindly all about?
Thank You Kindly is a podcast about your embarrassing work stories, your horrific work stories, pop culture, and everything in between.
Nailed it.
I feel like every week I change it to like embarrassing and horrific, or like embarrassing and hilarious, or hilarious and horrific.
It's interchangeable, but it works.
Yeah,
you do.
yeah.
And you changed them. So like, I haven't noticed that. Like, as you said it, I'm like, yeah, you do that, but I've never noticed until you just said it.
Very
Which means you
subtle.
do it very well.
Okay, perfect. Act confident, no one will question you.
Yeah.
We got a little agenda today. We got lots of great user feedback. One of them was, hey, be nice to know what you guys are going to talk about in the episode. So
Yeah.
some of what we're going to talk about today, we do keep it relatively loose still, but we're going to chat a little bit about childhood fears.
Yeah, I guess.
A couple of
wait.
us, we're going to share embarrassing stories from work, from meetings we've been in. Like I have one, and we may have one more. And then we're just going to chat a little bit. But really, those are two focuses for the episode: some embarrassing work stories and childhood fears.
Yeah.
A nice mix.
Yeah.
Let's just get right into it. Childhood fears. The way I want to bring this up is looking back when you were a child, what was your biggest fear as a child? And now as an adult, what is your biggest fear?
You go.
You go first.
I used to be a kid with major anxiety,
Same.
and I had the most illogical, irrational fears. And my mom put me in therapy because she's like, this is not normal. At one point, my mom was watching like All My Children, which is like a soap opera. In case anyone doesn't know,
I was thinking All in the Family. I was like, gee, that is a sitcom.
Yeah.
That is not a soap.
No, All My Children. And there was this woman in an episode who like stood by the front door with a bat wanting to kill the mother of the family. And for some reason I was like, someone's going to stand by our front door with a bat and like kill my mother. And I was also afraid of a volcano erupting and like completely blanketing the house, and then we all die. And it didn't matter that there were no volcanoes around.
I was going to
We-
say, you
we
didn't
live
live
in
near any
Canada.
active volcanoes.
Yeah, no. And my mom could not convince me otherwise. I'm like, there is going to be a volcano eruption and we are going to burn to death. And she's like, this is not normal. And then I also had a fear of tornadoes, which will come back later in the episode.
Okay.
Our sister had a really bad fear of tornadoes.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know if you-
Really?
Yeah. Probably
Oh.
still does.
Yeah.
Oh my
But
God.
continue.
Now I'm more really fascinated by them. But anyway, I digress. I was also afraid of alligators coming and eating us all alive. Like a bunch of alligators coming onto my street and eating us all alive. And my mom was like, you need therapy. You need therapy.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Are there alligators in Australia? Like when you were living in Australia, was that like a common thing? Because I feel like
there are crocs.
Yeah,
Crocs,
like
yeah.
near
Yeah.
like near the water. But there's also like way more dangerous just things that are
Yeah.
like they're like the spiders and snakes are just,
tarantulas
like,
and
yeah.
But what was hilarious though is like when I moved to Australia, everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're from Canada. You guys have bears. Are you not afraid of bears?" And I'm like, "No." And then the more Australians talk to me about bears, I'm like, "You're right. Bears are kind of
pretty
terrifying."
fucking scary. Yeah.
But I was like, I was worried about your sharks, and you're thinking about our bears. Like, insane.
Well, I'm more worried about their spiders. Like
Yeah.
they're-
Yeah.
But they're spiders. Honestly, I've never had a fear of spiders, but like the really huge ones, the huntsmen that are
Yeah.
the size of a dinner plate, those are the ones you want around.
Yeah. Because you won't die if they bite you.
Yeah, and they eat some of the really
Yes.
deadly ones. The deadly ones are the small ones, the
Yeah.
white tails, the
But
redbacks.
When I worked in
I
school,
hate
I was an elementary school teacher for a long time, and when I worked in schools,
Yeah.
in the staff room, they had like a spider chart, and there's like 10 or 15 spiders, and then there was the antidote for the different spider bites. Like,
Oh my
there
God.
as well in case anyone was bitten by a spider.
I
It never
didn't-
happened
I
to us there,
hate
but like
that.
I
and
didn't
also,
know you
like-
worked in like a school there.
yeah, or
Oh.
I taught a grade. It was like a grade 2-3 split
That's
class.
so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I was Mr. Faba.
Love that.
That's what they called me.
I love that.
That's amazing. Okay, so those are your fears
Childhood fear.
growing up.
Yeah.
What's your biggest fear as an adult?
I think it's safe to say my biggest fear is burning alive in a house fire. Like I'm really afraid of a house fire.
Deep.
Like yeah. I know this is getting it gets morbid. Like I can't think of a worse fear in my mind that I think about.
Like burning alive in general is
It
terrible.
seems, yeah, but I think I didn't actually get that fear again until I lived in Australia, and I had one of my friends have our entire house burned down on Black Saturday, which is this one day in 2009 where all of these people lost their houses, people died. It was crazy. and like her horse is burned alive. It was horrible. And I was like, oh, you're right. A bushfire is actually the most horrific thing in the entire world. Like being caught in a bushfire and you can't go anywhere, like because it spreads so quickly.
Yeah.
And then when I came home, I was like, fires are the worst.
Fires are the worst.
They're the scariest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You threw that her horse was burned alive. Like, oh, and like it all was sad, but I was like, oh god.
Oh God. Yeah.
Jeez.
It was bad. It was horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. They call it Black Saturday because the black smoke filled the sky and you couldn't see the sun.
That actually happens. Like I remember when last time I was in Australia, it was 2019, and it was when
Me
they
too. When did you go in 2019?
I was in December 2019.
I
We
was-
got back and got COVID started.
I was there from November to December 2019.
We were probably
That's
there at the same
crazy.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
You
should
guys
try
about
it
to pass by each other on the street.
Yeah, could have.
again. Yeah, but we got there was when the bushfires were really bad.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I actually have this picture of like did like the coastal walk from like Bondi Beach to Coogee Beach,
Right.
and you can't see the ocean. Like we were like standing looking at the ocean,
Wow.
like you see like the little at the front, but it's just like
Yeah.
gray, which is pretty messed up.
That's wild.
Just because mine's very similar to yours, I'm
Yeah.
jumping in.
Yeah.
My childhood fear. I was just telling Max about this. Also, very anxious kid.
Yeah. Are we the same?
I think we're very
we
similar.
might be
We
the
travel,
same.
but I was a very anxious kid, and I remember I always used to be like I would always have to. My room was like a couple doors down from like my parents' room, and I would always sleep with my door open so I could see. This was like my kid logic.
Yeah.
I was probably like 10.
Yeah.
I could see my parents' room
Yeah.
because I wanted to be able to. I didn't want to sleep with my door closed because like if someone were to break into the house, I would like see where they were going, and I wanted to be able to like my parents to hear me if I were to call them.
Oh, wow.
Right. So there was that. And then also, and I remember I would tell my parents this. And at the time, I remember I'm like really scared of like people breaking in and like
Yeah.
kidnapping me or whatever. Still a fear. Like I still like, it's still like a fear in the back of my head, but it's not as crazy.
Yeah.
I also I would like lie in my bed and I would adjust. I had those blinds that you can like twist the thing and they could like show shutters.
Yeah.
Shutters.
Right.
And I would adjust them to face up, not down, on the off chance that somebody was trying to kill me and can look, like, if they're looking down through the window, like they'd be able
They
to
can
see
see
me
you
in my
through the
bed.
slats. Yep. That was the
Also, I thought that the person who was trying to kill me probably was also like a trained sniper who could be on a roof. And I'll never forget, I used to like, if I didn't fall asleep well, I'd be like lying there like freaking out, and then I would like keep calling my parents into my room and stuff.
same. Yeah.
And I remember I explained this to them one night. I was probably 10 or 11, which is like too old for this fear, I think. Maybe
I
not.
don't know. Maybe
I
not.
don't know. But I remember I
Yeah.
explained the sniper. I really got into like the sniper, the home invasion, and the adjusting my blinds. I'll never
Yeah.
forget waking up the next morning and I walked down to like, our TV room, like both my parents were like sitting there. I'm like, morning. They're like, hi, honey, we wanted to talk to you. And I was like, uh-huh. They're like, we're going to go talk to a doctor. And that's what I said. Then that's when I started seeing a psychologist when I was Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I remember her whole I remember she's like, I explained what I was scared of. She's like, okay, so Zach, I like to think of thoughts that we have and put them in two camps: true thoughts and lying thoughts.
Yeah.
And like would have me go through all the things I was saying.
Yeah.
The sniper in the window, fine, like lying thought, but like home invasion is not a crazy thought. Like it could happen.
It's not a crazy
very
thought.
real-
Yeah.
a
It's
very
not
real
something
fear.
a 10-year-old should occupy
yeah.
himself
I'm really
with.
occupied. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But when you thought about the sniper though, why did you think that a sniper was going to kill you? Like what do you think that you did where they're like, we need to take this guy out, this is a big
well, that's
threat.
like, yeah, exactly. there wasn't like a specific reason.
Yeah.
Like I guess like
An irrational
growing
fear.
up, our dad had like a pretty like public job where there were some people who didn't like his job. How do I say this? Our dad is an expert witness on hate crime, which is he's actually one of two in the entire in like North America. It's,
Oh,
it's very
wow.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's so
So
interesting.
part of what he did growing up was if there was like a literal Nazi like from World War II who was like found living somewhere else in the world, like they would often fly him or there's one other person to like testify in court to explain if it's a hate crime or not,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
which is really cool and
That's
like
really
and really
cool.
like really amazing.
Yeah.
However, neo-Nazis really don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
So I guess I must have known that like there are people in the world who really don't like our dad.
Yeah.
Who are like literally like skinheads and like neo-Nazis.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, sure, people might want to break into our house. And I was
Yeah.
like, because they don't there's this.
Makes
So like,
sense.
I
In
remember
your-
I was like, it's not a lying thought. I remember like
Yeah.
arguing with this. I'm like, it's not a lying thought.
In your mind, a Nazi sniper could be
Yeah.
outside your window
Yeah.
at any
Yeah.
time.
you put it like that.
What's your biggest fear now as an adult?
This is gonna be more dark, but like dying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I know
fair.
I have kids like that's
Just like dying like in general.
yeah, like not seeing my like kids grow up.
Yeah,
Is probably, yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
What
Yeah.
about you?
What about you? Sorry, I was really damn.
no, I was
It's
gonna
okay.
say
I was
that
talking about being burned alive.
Yeah.
So,
Before we get too dark,
Yeah.
Yeah.
my biggest fears as a kid, the first one, I hated sleeping on my back because I'll explain. I didn't ever want to sleep on my back because I was worried that if I did, I would be sucked into my bed and be dragged into some like disgusting underworld and like basically be like dragged into hell essentially.
that's new.
Yeah.
I've not heard that fear
No,
before.
because you know what? I don't think I've ever told anyone.
Wow.
Just me and my therapist.
So we all had therapists.
Wait, like currently, is there like
No,
you?
no, no. Like-
oh, sorry, this as a kid.
Yeah, but like even now,
Sorry.
like I still unintentionally like no, I mean like almost like kind of intentionally.
No, I get
just
that- I
won't
get-
sleep on my back.
No, I get like I fully get that. Like we were just talking about this. I used to be really afraid of Freddy Krueger as a kid, and
yeah.
now as like a grown man, like when I see Freddy Krueger, like I still go like
Yeah.
it still makes me a little scared. So I get what I'm saying is I get it.
Like even now, like also I won't sleep on my back just because of the whole like, especially when I come home from a night of drinking.
Yeah.
Because if you puke and you're on your back, then you'll like choke on your own
choke.
vomit.
Yeah.
And so now every time I come home, it's just like my natural instinct is to sleep on my side because I don't want to potentially puke and die, and I also don't want to be dragged into some random underworld that lives underneath my bed.
Where did the fear about the underworld come into play? Like, did you see something where someone was sucked through? Like, was it a Are You Afraid of the Dark scenario?
Yeah, like it was probably like either an Are You Afraid of the Dark or Goosebumps,
Goosebumps.
something
yeah.
like that. 'Cause
Classic.
those shows were terrifying.
Are you
Yeah,
afraid?
they
Of the,
were.
are you afraid of the dark? Was that was legit scary? There were a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
that I was like,
Yes, I was
Oh, yeah.
afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
kidding
yeah,
me?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
fuck that. I hate
And,
the dark.
and I feel like I could only handle the title theme for Are You Afraid of the Dark or
Yeah.
Goosebumps on certain nights where like all of a sudden if it went, which one is, it must be Goosebumps. It's like
Goosebumps
Goosebumps
that
is
had,
like
like, the-
Goosebumps is the person like running.
Yeah. And
then
then
it
it
had,
shows
like,
the
the-
dog with the glowing eyes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's like Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And I had to feel like really strong to be able to watch it, but I really wanted to watch it, but I was like, I know this is going to disrupt my sleep, but I'm still going to do it. Actually, that might have something to do with why I had so much anxiety as a kid, because I also would, it was as soon as you said that you would leave your door open, I was like, fuck yeah. I didn't mention that this was also why my mom sent me to therapy, because my mom and my dad divorced when I was 3. And so my mom told me that I would like shout around the house. I'd be like, Mom, and she'd come running. She'd be like, what's wrong? And I'd be like, I just want to make sure that you didn't leave like Dad did. And it was just so fucking sad. But then I would be so afraid that she would just be gone in the middle of the night that I would open my door and I'd just come and I'd open her door and just be a creepy child standing in her doorway, just staring at her. And then she'd wake up and I would be shaking. I had like warts all over my hands from worrying so much. Like,
Oy, jeez.
because I was like, I had so much anxiety. I was afraid she was going to die.
You had
be taken-
warts from it?
Yeah, you get warts from worrying. You remember
Goodness.
Junie from Spy Kids, where he
Yeah.
had like all these band-aids on his fingers?
Yeah.
This band-aid's unrelated, but he had all these band-aids from like warts because he worried so much. And then as soon as he stopped
damn.
worrying, he took off
Wait,
all the band-aids.
I used to have like warts on my feet as a kid.
Yeah,
It makes so
yeah,
much sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Such a stressed little.
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
such a stressful
I
fucker.
didn't know that.
Being dragged into
Into hell.
some sort of underworld was
Yeah.
a big fear of mine. I no longer think that exists, but I still sleep on my side. And as an adult, honestly, turbulence. I hate
Really?
it. I hate it.
But is it like a fear? Like,
It's like anytime the plane shakes, my first instinct is I hope it doesn't go down.
Does it make you feel better to know that no plane in history has ever gone down from turbulence?
I like yes, but also no.
and the stats on you like driving to the airport and dying in a car accident are like so much
much
higher.
It's something that I
than-
try
Yeah.
to remind myself about when it comes to like I don't mind flying in general. I hate landing. I love taking off. I hate landings and turbulence. I always think, oh, like athletes are on planes basically every day, like traveling to games a lot
Yeah.
of the time. So like they're flying all the time. They're fine.
Yeah.
I should just relax.
Yeah.
Essentially. When I was flying home from the UK one time, and we had maybe 5 seconds of turbulence, but it was the most intense bout of turbulence ever. And the plane like dropped
Oh, yeah.
for a
Oof.
second.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard a woman go, ah! And I was like, fuck. I was like,
This is
okay. I was
how I
like, well,
go.
she's not helping at all. And I
Yeah.
always look at the flight crew, like the stewardesses,
They're
Yeah.
always chilling.
flight attendants. If they're chill, I'm chill.
Yeah.
If I see them looking like they're panicking,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start panicking.
Have you ever seen them panic?
Yeah.
Not about anything flight related, but they did run out of apple juice one time, and a lot of people wanted apple juice. So I remember like one of them being like Sam, can you? We're low, and then she's like, I'm trying, like I have to get here. I was like, they're panicking, but it's for a reason that is okay. You
That's the real
they're low on
tragedy.
apple juice. Like it sucks, but it is what it is.
I keep having this recurring dream that I'm going to die in a plane crash, which is
I
like,
hate that for you.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
sounds
pretty,
awful.
it's pretty horrific, and it's always upon takeoff actually. So it's like embedded itself in my brain because I've seen some videos of, not to like add to your fear, of
Thank you.
of airplanes taking off and then they just
Oh Jesus.
crash, and it's just because they've like stalled, they've gone too steep or something.
Oh God.
Anyway, so now I just keep having that recurring dream.
Well, there's a channel. So Kelsey and I have a Roku TV, and there's the Roku channel where you can watch like live TV. And one of the channels is literally called the Disaster Channel.
Oh, God.
And it's all about like planes and like horrible crashes that have happened. Kelsey loves watching it. Like, she loves watching it. So she'll be like, "Yo, like, babe, come check this out." And I'll look. It'll be like, when they lost the tail of the plane, it
Oh,
spun
God.
in and everyone died instantly. And I was like, why are you like, don't show me this. I don't like this. This is only adding to my fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was this documentary, and it wasn't a documentary, sorry. It was a movie that was acted out, but it was based upon a real story, and it's dubbed. I need to put, I'm going to like,
Thinking of like Flight with Denzel.
no. No, but it's about who were they? Fuck, I just watched this with Jay.
Was the soccer team?
It was the rugby team.
The rugby team
that ended up like eating each other to survive because like
Oh,
half of them survived the plane crash.
Yellow Jackets.
Yeah. No, but Yellow Jackets is like from what I read, loosely based on that
Is it
story.
really?
But also
Oh.
like, wouldn't, if it's like just everyone's gonna die, or like we have to eat a little bit of this person who's already dead, like wouldn't you eat them?
Yes.
I would. I think
Probably.
I would eat them.
Yeah, I eat them.
That was, and this is okay. Apparently, there's an English version of this story, and then there's an even better version that we watched. That's been nominated for all these awards and stuff. I think it's been nominated for some Oscars this year, and it is. I don't remember if it's like Swedish or German or something, but it's really well dubbed, so you don't even really like clock that you're not seeing their lips move the same way.
Yeah.
It's really well acted, and we were like having the conversation the whole way through where. They landed in Nepal, and the Andes Mountains. That's what it was.
Yes.
They landed in the Andes Mountains, and it was so frigid that all the bodies that died just froze. So it was all safe to eat. And then they were there for like 72 days. I think.
And when there were less of them when they came back, they were like questioned about it, and they like weren't like open about what they did because they were all like,
So,
Oh,
so,
I
didn't-
so
I didn't
Yellow
know that.
Jackets.
yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah.
I remember when I watched Yellow Jackets, first thing I thought, I'm like, this has to be based on a story of this rugby team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you go to the Yellow Jackets like Wikipedia, it says like it's inspired by.
Wow.
Damn.
That's so cool. Yellow Jackets is fucked up. Side note.
It's
I haven't
super
finished
crazy.
it yet, but
I haven't started the second season.
me
so.
neither.
Okay.
Me neither.
I've seen
Yeah.
Ep 1. But
Okay.
I won't say anything. Actually, my childhood fear about like people breaking in, like I actually did face it.
What? I want to hear
I feel like
that.
that's the better story.
Yeah,
we'll say
yeah,
the work
yeah.
one will come up on another
Also,
day. So
I
like,
just
sorry,
remembered.
listeners.
I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're about to say, but it's amazing.
Sorry,
so.
listeners,
I'm
for
intrigued.
going off agenda after like just introducing the agenda. There was like the sniper stuff and all that. I was scared of, but like it all came down to like being scared about someone breaking into my house and
Right.
like kidnapping or killing. I don't know what it was. When I was in, I think it was like second year university. I was in Montreal and I was staying at my girlfriend at the time's apartment, and she lived in this building. It was 3 stories. So there was like one apartment on the main floor, one on the second, one on the third.
Okay.
And I remember the room we were sleeping in, like if you open the door, it like leads to like the kitchen where there was also like a side door, which is like
Okay.
an alleyway.
Okay.
That you have to climb up a ladder to get to. So I wake up to like a banging noise. And there's people who lived above and below. So like I just woke up and I was like, oh, the upstairs neighbors are just like stomping around. Like, it's so annoying.
Right.
And I was just like lying in bed and I was like, it doesn't sound like it's coming from like above us. So I just like opened the bedroom door. She was still sleeping.
Yeah.
I opened the bedroom door and like it was banging on like the side door of where like the kitchen, like right outside the room, which is also like, it's a glass door with like a window on either side.
Okay.
And I hear them saying like, "Oh, like open the door, like open the door."
Oh dear God.
So I just went back in the room like, well, fuck, like this is my biggest fear. It's happening. Like someone's trying to break in. And so I just immediately called the police.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm like, not dealing with this, calling the police right away.
Yeah. Smart.
And they're like, this is the Quebec police. So they're like, hello, it's the emergency. And I'm like, hi. I'm not at my apartment, at my girlfriend's apartment. Somebody is banging on the side door. It's glass. Little concerned that they may break it or come in. Can you send somebody? They're like, yes, no problem. Thank you for calling. A squad car will be there in 5 minutes. I'm like,
Yeah.
great. So at this point, like the banging was getting like louder, and they were really like, I actually was concerned about the glass breaking.
Right.
I was also like trying to be like, I got this.
Yeah.
So I don't know like how this would be told from like my girlfriend at the time's perspective. But I woke her up at this point. I was like, hey, like want to let you know someone's like
Trying to get
been
in.
banging on the back door for like 20
Right.
minutes.
Yeah.
Don't freak out. I called the police. They're like, oh, she's like, you called the police? I'm like, yeah. All right. I'm like, they're on their way.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Then like 10 or 15 minutes passed. So like I called the police again. And I'm like, hi. They're like, hi. They asked for all the information again. And I was like, look, I called like 15 minutes ago. You said someone would be here in 5 minutes. Like I'm concerned they're going to like actually break in at
Yeah.
this point. They haven't left. It's been 20 minutes. And I also didn't want to leave the room because at this point they didn't know anyone was home. And if I go out, it's like a window. So they would see somebody was there.
Right.
So they're like, yep, it's a minute away. Like, don't worry, it's going to be there any minute. I'm like, okay. As I was calling, he was also like pulling on the windows beside the door. Forgot to mention that part. As I hang up though, I hear the window like being screeched open.
Oh
So I
my
don't know how I was
God.
going to open it. And then
Oh
at
my
that
God,
point, I was
that's
at that point, I was
scary.
like, oh my God, this fucking person is actually opening. He's getting the window open.
Were you getting ready to fight or something?
Yeah, I was like, I did think about it. I'm like, do I go grab a knife? Like, I was thinking,
Yeah.
do I get a knife
Yeah.
from the kitchen? I was thinking
Yeah.
about it. But first, I'm like, okay, now the window, I just called the police. I literally had just hung up. I called them right back.
Yeah.
And they're like, hi, like emergency. As they say that, I hear like the screen fall, like because the kitchen table's there. So I hear it. So I'm like, and I hear things shuffling on the table. So someone was crawling through the window. I'm like, somebody is in my apartment. Send somebody right now. I called 3 times. Like I was like, and then to which the police responded. They're like, ma'am, calm down. Like, I'll never forget that. And I was like, I don't know why I felt that in the moment. I was like, I am a sir. Like, they're on the table. Someone needs to come right now. They've broken into the house.
Yeah.
And then and they're like, where are you? And I'm like, we're in the bed. We're in a bedroom. They're like, do not leave the room.
Yeah.
Like an officer will be there any second. I'm like, okay. My girlfriend was standing there and I was like, don't leave the room. And she like immediately like opened the door and poked her
What?
head out. And I was like, what the fuck you doing? I remember I was so mad.
Is this a horror movie?
Yeah. And then she's like, and I was still on the phone with the police. Police are still on the phone. She's like, I think it's just a drunk guy, like a regular drunk guy. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay. And I said to the police, I'm like, okay, I think it's just a drunk guy. And I hung up.
What?
Okay.
Okay.
Bear in mind, the police never came. First off, they never showed
No.
up. But
That's
which I'll
crazy.
get back to. And at this point, like she walked out of the room and I walk out. There's just this guy standing in the kitchen. He's like tall guy, no shirt, clean shaven guy,
Yeah.
and like jeans on. He was just like standing, like looking around like this. And then like I walked out and he's like, where's my shirt? Was the first thing. And I was like, what? He's like, where's my shirt? He's like, this is my brother's apartment. I got locked out. Where's my shirt? And I was like, this isn't your brother's apartment. I'm like, and he was drunk. Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, this isn't your brother's apartment. I'm like, but I'm like, you need to leave like right now. Cause I was like, you're going to get arrested for
Yeah.
like breaking. I'm like, you broke this window and I called the police. Like,
Yeah.
and I
Right.
called them 3 times. You're going to get arrested. But I
Yeah.
see this was an accident. Like leave back down the alleyway that you just came. Like, don't go through the front door.
Right.
Because like, I was sure there was going to be a police
Right.
officer at the front door. And he looked at me, he's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yes, I did.
Yeah. They are
And-
coming.
And then he's like, whoa. He's like, I don't like you. And I was like, he goes, you're Mr. Serious, dude. And I was like, and then you look at my girlfriend, he's like, I like you. You're nice. Because she was like, hey, you should go. She was being like, just like, you should. And I was like, go, like right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't mean to be Mr. Serious, but like, you're going to get arrested. I was like, you're going to get arrested.
Yeah.
And this was the second story. So to get it, you open the front door, you walk down like a set of stairs, then like you open the door to outside. My girlfriend went back to the room and I'm like, let's go. So we start walking him down. Because he's like, I want to go out the front door. I'm like, I really don't think you should go out the front door. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's going to be police there. He's like, no, there won't. I was like, okay. So now I'm like, in my head, I'm like walking him to the front door. And in my head, I'm like, I'm going to now have to explain to the police why like I'm walking him out and it's fine.
Yeah.
After a call.
Yeah.
So like, and as I was walking down, I was like so hesitant to open the front door, and he was like laughing. He's like, "Why are you so nervous, man?" I was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
I was like, "Dude, I'm like, I'm like, because there's gonna be a police car when I
Yeah.
open the door, and like, you scared me."
Yeah.
So I slowly open the door. No police officer there. It's also like was kind of a cold night, so I was like, okay. I'm like, anyway, okay, I'm like, bye. He
Yeah.
goes, wait, can I borrow a shirt? And I was like, no. I'm like, absolutely not. He's like,
Yeah.
dude. He's like, don't. He's like, you're being He's like, you're being kind of an asshole. Like, I've already told him. I'm like, you were the asshole in the situation. And he's like, no, like, he's like, but it's cold. Like, I don't know where I am. Like, I don't know where I'm going. And I was like, I don't know how he convinced me, but I'm like, okay, come back upstairs. But also I was like, I don't have any clothes because like I'm like, I don't live here. I have like a couple shirts that I like. Whatever I give you, I'm not getting back.
Yeah.
But I went back up, and we went back into like the room. And my girlfriend was like in bed, and like I opened the door with him. She's like, what the fuck? And I was like, and I remember I'm like, there's t-shirts like I'd given her, and I was like, do you have a t-shirt I've given you?
Yeah.
And there was like this tiny t-shirt that I had, and like I pulled out of a drawer. It was and like gave it to him, and he put it on. It was literally like a belly top. He's like, "Thanks, man." And then I walked him back out, and then it turned out as he walked out, he like looked where he was, and he's like, "Oh, my brother's renting this place," and it was the downstairs apartment. His brother was subletting it.
Oh my God.
So he went in, and then like I went back upstairs. I'm like, I can't believe that happened. This whole thing was like over the course of like an hour and a half. And bear in mind, police never came at all. And my last call was like someone's crawling through the window.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Then I looked out. I was going to go back to bed. I look out the window and I see he was like smoking a cigarette in the alleyway that he had climbed up through.
Yeah.
Wearing the belly top. And he's like, do you want one? I was like, no, I'm good. And he's like, oh, and he took off the t-shirt, like tossed it back up.
Yeah.
Before we like went back to bed, I called the police to be like, hey, I was like, they called like, what's your emergency? I'm like, hey, it's Zach.
Exactly. First name basis.
I was like, hey, I called about a break and enter.
Yeah.
He got in.
You didn't do shit?
Yeah, I'm like, I got him out.
Yeah.
It's fine. You don't need to send. Like, I'm like, if someone's still on their way, like, tell them it's fine. They're like, oh, great, thanks for letting us know.
That's
And
crazy.
like, they still should have sent somebody based on that call.
Yeah.
Because how do they know someone's not like holding a gun in my head? You know what I mean?
Truly.
Yeah.
Telling me to call and tell them not to come.
Yeah.
Anyway, they never came.
In fact, you probably shouldn't have even made that last call because if they are doing their job, they'd
should
be
still
showing
come.
up
They-
anyway.
Yeah, but
They
they never
would've
came.
been
That
there.
was the last call. They never came.
That's
and,
crazy.
And that was it. But I
That's
remember, I think the next morning, I
hilarious.
like, called my parents and told them, like, you won't believe what happened.
Yeah.
And I told them, and they're like, well, you should be really proud of yourself because, like, you just faced your biggest fear. It's like, you're right. Because that's what I went to therapy for like, a bunch of years as a kid. But that's my B&E story. Yeah.
When I think about the T-shirt, I immediately thought of Ross from Friends wearing Frankie Say Relax. Do you remember he like put it over Ross from Friends? Do you remember?
I've only seen a few episodes
No.
of Friends.
I've
Yeah.
only seen a few episodes of
I mean,
Friends.
like I've seen
That's
like
insane.
more than a few, but like I'm not a Friends fanatic. Like I haven't seen it in its entirety.
What?
I did a watch through recently.
He's trying to prove a point.
That's what the guy looked like.
Yeah.
Like not like Ross, but like that's what he looked like in the t-shirt. But
Yeah, no, if anybody ever broke into my apartment, I like to think that I would be like very cool and like badass about it.
Yeah.
But I know it wouldn't
would not.
happen.
I did
It would not
recently
happen.
buy a baton. Yeah, I keep beside my
Wait,
bed.
actually?
A baton.
How much did that run you?
This is so
You
Canadian.
can get it on Amazon. It's actually a tire, a thing for like checking tire air. Like you like smack a tire with it.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
A
what?
tire iron? Is that what they're called? Anyway,
Don't ask me.
Like a wrench? Like
no,
a,
it's
like
like
a crowbar?
it looks like a club.
Like a torque.
It's really. I had a moment a couple months ago where these fears we were talking about really came back.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went on and someone told me, they're like, dude, you should just buy a baton. And I was like, they're like, what if someone this
I love
person's
that it
a
was
terrible.
a
They were like,
baton
what if someone
Yeah.
actually?
It's not gun. It's baton.
No, well, you can't get a. I mean, actually, I feel like you actually. It's actually.
Probably
I think
can.
it's
You can
easier to
find
get a gun
one.
than you think here.
Yeah,
But it's like you don't want.
be-
You have to take a class. I don't want a
Yeah.
gun. I don't want a gun.
I don't want a gun in my
But
house
he's like,
either.
if someone actually broke into your house, like, what would you do? Punch him? I'm like, no. He's like, yeah. Don't you want like something? Just
Yeah.
smacks. I was like, I'm like, that's a good point. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what I would do.
It's fair.
Yeah. Jay and I have talked about this so much because Jay wants to have a gun in the house just because he's like, there's going to be a time in society where shit goes awry and we might want a gun. And I was like, I don't want a gun in the house. I just don't want that. But we can get a baseball bat to sit by the door.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can.
This is like a mini. It looks like a mini baseball. It's totally legal, by the way. It's not actually a baton. It's like I got it on Amazon.
Yeah.
It was like $35.
Baton,
Yeah.
like in air
No,
quotes.
a tire club. I think it's called a tire club. I just keep it beside my bed.
It's giving UK because the UK police officers have only batons and tasers. They don't have guns.
guns?
Yeah.
Wait.
You just see them smacking.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, they don't
that's
have
so
guns.
British.
Yeah, it is so. It's so British.
But
yeah.
I do want to make sure we hit our last agenda item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was our biggest fear. 'Cause I know Geneva had a cool story.
My question is, what is the most afraid you have ever been? And you said that was the most.
That was
That was the most
the
afraid.
B&E when the guy broke through the window was
Yeah.
the most afraid. Like in the moment, like me hearing the glass like fall onto the kitchen table.
Oh.
And I was whispering to the police on the phone. That's like probably the most scared I've ever been.
Oh yeah, you really sucked me into that story too. I was having like heart palpitations. I was so anxious.
Thank you so much. It makes me feel good about my storytelling.
Yeah, yeah. Mine. Would you have one that
I'm
comes to mind?
trying to think of one because I've definitely been scared shitless a few times, but I'm trying to think of like the main one. But you go first. I want to hear yours.
Mine was speaking about tornadoes, it was the time that my friends and I almost got caught in a tornado. We were doing a road trip. Okay, so side note about me, I go ghost hunting with my friends like around North America.
You do?
Wait,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we go
okay,
on.
so we need to dedicate a whole episode
Yeah,
to
yeah.
that.
Let's take that offline and then bring it online later.
Offline. So this was our ghost hunting trip through Ohio, Kentucky, Nashville, and then we were going to be in Nashville for the 4th of July in 2019. And then drive back. And
I'm blown away that you're into ghost hunting. I did not know that.
That's like
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
On this trip in particular, we went to Ohio State Reformatory where they filmed Shawshank, and we did a ghost hunting thing there. And my friend Tanis, she just like swindles whoever we're talking to and convinces them to like give us a free Tanis.
That's
a tier 4
Her
right
name's,
there.
Yeah.
It's a tier 4. I've never met another Tanis.
like tennis, but like Tanis.
Yeah, Tanis. Have you
like
guys ever watched Letterkenny?
No, I've seen
I
like,
actually
like
haven't,
maybe
but I know
like
I
2
should.
episodes.
Fun fact: Tanis used to date a friend of the creators of Letterkenny, and the character Tanis is named after my friend Tanis. Anyway, she ends up swindling ghost tours for us, like where we're supposed to pay, but then she just like talks to someone and then she's like, come on. And we go and do like a private tour. And so we got that through Ohio State Reformatory. And then we got it through Waverly Hills Sanatorium, which is known as the most haunted place in the entire world. It's in Kentucky. Anyway, I digress. Wow. That's for a different time. But I was going with my friend Tanis, my friend Laura, through Ohio into Nashville. And what we didn't realize is it was like tornado time when we were driving in. And I have like a really strange fascination with tornadoes. It started with a fear, and now I'm just like, oh, I just want to know everything about the most destructive tornadoes in the entire world. They were in the front seat of this car, and I was in the middle in the back. I was noticing that the sky was getting green and the air felt really thick. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely like the foundation for a tornado, but I was talking to them about it, but I wasn't worried, right? Because I knew that we were in a spot where tornadoes tend to happen. And then I got a notification on my phone that looked like an Amber Alert. I had never seen anything like it before. I can actually put it into this video because I still have that recording. And I don't know why I'm like breathing differently when I'm talking about this because it was so scary. And so I pull it out of my pocket. It looks like an Amber Alert, and it says something like, take cover immediately. There's a tornado in your area. And I'm really actually kind of skipping forward because all of a sudden the wind started picking up, and then there was hail. We were driving into blackness, basically. We were getting more and more antsy because we were stuck on the highway and there was nowhere to get off. And you should never be in your car when a tornado hits. You're actually better to get out of your car and lay down in a ditch and cover your head, because if you were in a car, you're just up, you're dead. Like you're being thrown around, and there was nowhere to pull off. And we were between transport trucks that were blowing like this. And we're like, we could die. I was like, okay, it's clear a tornado has touched down because it's telling us like to take cover immediately. And it was becoming really, really loud. It really did sound like a freight train. And Tanis was the one driving. She puts down her window, and right as she puts down her window, the tornado sirens go off. And it's like the eeriest sound ever. It's like, and just stays there. And then you're looking around, and there were multiple funnel clouds above us. We were driving over, and we're like, all right, there's a fucking tornado somewhere. And we were like, we were so convinced that we were going to get caught in one and that we weren't going to get to the next like rec center that we thought we were going to make it. And we're like, we can't make it to the rec center. Everyone's trying to get off the highway. There's gridlock because everyone's convinced they're going to get stuck. Yeah. So we see a random, I think it was a Harvey's, which is just a shack. You're not safe in a Harvey's, but we're like, we need to get off of this highway. So we drive off while the freight train's still happening, the sirens are still happening. We like swing the doors open to run into the Harveys, and the winds are so strong that they almost whipped the doors off of the car. Like it was like we couldn't even close the doors very well. And it was like, I can't even explain to you
I'm
what
stressed
this
just
was like.
hearing this.
I know.
Like, whoa.
And we run into the Harveys, and the workers at Harveys were like totally nonchalant. I guess they hear like tornado sirens all the time.
Yeah.
Wait,
But
there was a Harvey's in Nashville, Tennessee.
it was in Ohio, but maybe there.
Wait, are there Harveys in the States?
Maybe-
Sorry,
maybe
I'm
it-
like focusing on the wrong parts of the story. I'm like, you're telling me there was a
Honestly,
Harveys in the United States.
I keep getting the name of it wrong. It was either a Harvey's or like a Wendy's or something like that. Like
I was
but it
mostly
was
just,
a total
I was
shack.
I was being a little coy there, but I was also like, so I was like, what? There was a fucking Harveys there?
that's fair.
Forget the
Yeah.
tornado.
Yeah.
What do you mean there was a
Forget
Harvey's in the States?
And we run in, and they I don't think they even realized what was happening. I'm not sure, but we start talking a mile a minute, like over each other. We're like, we need to get everyone in the bathroom, like, and then we all stop, and then the girl's like, oh, there's a tornado, and like it was a movie, she goes to pull out her phone, and then the power cuts out. Like,
Oh my
and so
God.
she looks at her phone. She's like, "Oh," and I just took control there, and I was like, "We need to get everyone into the bathrooms right now." There's like women with big groups of children, and they're coming out of the bathroom, and I'm like, "Ma'am, turn around!"
jeez.
And we're trying to think of how we cover the children when we inevitably are hit, like because you looked outside and it was black, and like I don't know if you've seen where tornadoes are just picking up, but you can see the debris start to move around,
yeah.
and that's what it looked like.
Oh,
And
oh my God, I hate that.
and you have to go into a bathroom. Like that's definitely your best shot at survival if you don't have a basement or whatever.
Like, also, if you're really scared, like, avoid shitting your
You
pants.
could, yeah, you
in
could
your
shit,
pants.
you could
Yeah,
vomit
yeah.
at your leisure.
Yeah.
I might have a video actually of like right when it was dying back down, but we still weren't allowed to get out.
The minute the glass starts shattering, I'm out.
All right.
Bathroom. Okay, everybody in the bathroom. Okay, nobody goes back out, guys. Nobody goes back out.
Anyway, I'm like rambling because I can't like
That
put my
sounds-
thoughts together. It was really
It
scary.
sounds, even as you're telling it, I could hear like in your voice.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's,
It was the most convinced I've ever been that I was going to die. And
Wow.
and I could tell that it was a different type of fear because the three of us, when we finally got to our destination, like 5 hours later, it felt like we had all been hit by a bus. Like our muscles had felt like someone had like just punched us down. And it was because we had been in fight or flight mode for so long
Jeez, yeah.
that when our bodies finally let go of that fear, it felt different than I'd ever felt. Like it was like, oh, you've
man.
been through some
That's-
serious
Wow.
shit.
That's-
Yeah.
I'd be scared shitless. I would.
It was
Yeah, I would
scary.
never forget that.
Yeah.
Oh my
it was
God.
definitely
Would
the
you say your
scariest.
bodies were like sore and run down as though you'd played like 10 hours of tennis?
Yeah, sure.
More like 10 hours of tennis.
Wait, Han, that was what I said. No? Fuck, did I get the name wrong?
I mean, it sounded
I was
like
so excited. I was
it
so
sounded
excited
like you
to try
said-
to lighten the mood with saying
it
saying
sounded
her
like you
name.
just said tennis.
Yeah,
Did
I
I?
thought you said
tennis.
Okay.
I was like, really? I
Beat
was
you to it.
just so you know, I wasn't the last 3 minutes. I wasn't listening and only thinking about making that joke, and then I said it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, you fucked it up. You fucked
Yeah.
it
I was
up.
trying.
Yeah.
I was trying to make it less scary at the end there.
Yeah.
I'll cap it off with mine because
Okay.
I actually realized there's one that's now I'm able to laugh about it, but in the moment I was scared shitless because I actually thought I accidentally killed someone.
Oh, dear God.
I'll
Okay.
explain. I was walking home from. This is when Kelsey and I were just like boyfriend girlfriend. We weren't even engaged yet, but where we're both from, her mom's place was about maybe like a 10-minute walk from our parents' place. So I would always walk over, we would hang out, and it was our dad's birthday one night, and I was going home, so we were heading out for dinner, and it was pouring rain. I hate walking in the rain, but at the corner house of our street, they have like a big patch of grass, like a bigger patch than most patches of grass you have outside your home. I don't know. It's the corner lot. And I noticed there was a dog, like a little Yorkie, and a woman lying down in the grass, like an old woman, probably in her like mid 80s, I would say.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around. There's no one else around. And I'm thinking to myself, like, am I hallucinating and like seeing a woman lying in the grass?
Right.
So I'm looking, I'm like, okay, like I can't just leave her here. I have to say something. So I'm like, ma'am, are you okay? And it's this like Russian woman. She goes, oh, I've fallen. I can't get up.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. I was like, let me help you. Let me help you. And the dog, keep in mind, this Yorkie is just sitting there the whole time. I didn't even know if it was real. Like it literally was not moving at all. So I'm trying to pick up this woman and I can't pick her up. She was really heavy.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, maybe I do just leave her here. Like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, help me, please. I was like, man, like, fuck, I'm trying. Like, God, like, finally, some random guy comes over. He goes, "Hi." He's like, "Is everything okay over here?" And I wanted to be like, "Oh yeah, no, we're fine. It's just grandma being fucking stupid." I was like, "She fell. Like, I'm trying to help her up. Do you mind helping me?" And he goes, "Yeah, of course." So we pick her up and we're holding on to her, and then we let her go, and she starts falling forward.
Oh God.
We quickly grab her again. We're holding her, like, he's got one arm, I got the other, and we're like, "Ma'am, like, let us walk you home. Where do you live?" And she's like, "Oh, I live on which is literally, it was like a 2-minute walk. So we're like, "Oh, not a problem. We'll walk you."
Right.
And she goes, No. I'm so embarrassed. Please, like, you can let me go. I'm okay. I just want to go home." I was like, "Ma'am, like, I understand that, but I just don't want you to accidentally hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Please, it's like, it's really not that far of a walk. We're happy to help you."
Yeah.
And she's like, No. She's like, "Listen, I'm very embarrassed. I don't need your help. I appreciate the offer, but please let me go. I would like to go home."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "So you know what?" I was like, "We'll let you go, but we're going to count to 3. Okay,
Yeah.
just so we can give you a moment to be ready."
Yeah.
Okay. And she's
1,
like,
2, 3.
right,
boom.
literally, boom, boom, boom. And I was like, "Is that okay?" She's like, "Yes." So I was like, "Okay." I was like, 1, 2, 3. And we both pull away.
Yeah.
And she takes a couple steps and she's walking fine. I was like, "Okay." I was like, I was probably overthinking it. And then I'm looking at where she's walking, and there was a little stump in the grass.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's going exactly where you think it's going. Probably even worse, to be honest. Her foot hits the corner of the stump, and I shit you not, she goes flying.
Oh no.
She trips over the stump and goes flying into the air, face first on the sidewalk.
No.
And she's lying there like a fucking starfish. And my first thought is, she's dead. Because she hit the pavement. She like went flying and hit the pavement.
Oh,
And I was like,
God.
"She's fucking dead. I just killed her. She's dead." And the guy's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and like we're both just standing there. And then he's like, and I was like, "What?" Like, I don't know what to fucking do. And then we like slowly walk up to her, and I'm like about to like tap her on the back just to be like, "Ma'am, like, are you okay?" And I literally, I bend down. Her face starts, like, blood just starts pouring out the sides of her face like a horror movie.
Oh dear God.
And the guy goes, "Oh shit." And I was like, "Fuck, man." He goes, "What do we do?" I was like, "Turn her over." So we flip her over, and she just has the nastiest gash going like directly across her face.
Oh God.
Like, and I was like, "Oh my God." And it's just pouring blood. It's like oozing blood. I was like, this, like, I feel like Ashton Kutcher's gonna come out and be like, "We're bringing Punk'd back to fucking Thornhill, Ontario." And she's like bleeding, and like, it's just literally the nastiest thing I've ever seen. She's lying in a pool of her own blood. Like, it's getting like all over her hair and like face everywhere. And I go, "Ma'am," I'm like, "Oh my God." And she goes, "I'm okay. I just need to go home." And I was like, You're not fucking going home, dude. Like, you're going to the hospital. Like, if you think you're going home tonight, get fucked. Like, not happening. And the guy goes, "Man, what do we do?" I was like, "Call 911. Call 911."
Yeah.
It took 45 minutes for an ambulance to show up, because I remember my parents, they called me, and our mom was like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm on the street, but I'm at the corner. A woman might be dying."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Excuse me?" I was like, "I might have accidentally like killed this
someone.
woman."
Yeah.
And then I hung up. After 45 minutes, you know what? It's funny. Not even an ambulance didn't even show up. One cop car showed up after 45 minutes. And the woman is she's lying on the ground, just still bleeding. And I'm like, she's going to lose like so much blood. I don't know like I don't know what's going to happen to her. The cop gets out of the car, comes up to us. He goes, "What's going on here?" I was like, "Well," I was like, "I was walking home and I saw her lying on the fucking road, and I picked her up, and she said she was fine. We let her go, and she tripped and fell, and I thought I killed her." And he goes, "Okay." And we bring her up, and she's just like bleeding all over herself. And the cop goes, "Ma'am, are you okay?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm fine. I just want to go home. I'm so embarrassed." And he like gives her like a sniff. He goes, "Ma'am, how much have you had to drink tonight?" And she goes, "Ugh, too much."
Oh.
And
She's
it
just
all
drunk?
she was like shit-faced. And I realized that's why I couldn't pick her up. She was a dead weight because she was so drunk.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see.
And then I said to the cop, I was like, "Hey, listen, it's my dad's birthday. We're about to go get some Chinese food. Do I have to wait here?" And he goes, he's like, "Do you have like any other information that'd be helpful?" I was like, "No." He goes, "All right." He's like, "Then you're good." I was like, "Okay, sounds good." And then I saw that woman maybe like a year or two later walking, because I remembered her because of the dog. She was
Right.
walking the dog, and she had a bandage on her face.
Wow.
And
2 years later, she had a bandage on
she
her
had
face?
like, it wasn't, the cut wasn't fully crossing more, but I remember she had like something like up in the corner here and like on her chin.
Really? Wow.
But she had like a mark on her face. I remember that.
Yeah.
And we walked by, didn't even say anything to each other, but in my head I was like, "I thought I fucking killed you, dude." But I also might have saved your life. Like,
Yeah.
To wrap it up, what I will say
Yeah.
is, it's going to be a little dark, but had she died, it absolutely would not have been your fault. You actually probably would have been credited as attempting to save her.
Yeah.
So
yes.
throwing that
Okay.
out there.
First off, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That does help. But
Like
also,
if you pushed her over the stump because you're like, fuck this old lady. Yeah. But like
drunk
that's not
bitch.
what happened.
Yeah.
No, I know. But like, I feel like had she died, I would have felt guilty in a way.
Sure.
Right.
You
Which
know,
is-
but
that's just because
also-
you're a sweet boy.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
But
yeah.
with that, I feel like that's a good place to cap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cap? Did I use that right?
Cap.
It's a good place to cap.
No cap. That's a good place to cap. As
Is that what they say in the?
They say
To
no
wrap?
cap, like to wrap.
That
Wrap.
must-
Cap.
yeah,
Cap.
yeah.
Wrap.
Cap,
the cap.
wrap.
Either way,
We're
thanks for
white,
watching.
is what we're saying.
Yeah, we're white. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you have any work stories or just stories you want to send in, you could DM us on Instagram at Thank You Kindly Podcast. You can send us an email, thankyoukindlypodcast@gmail.com.
Okay,
And
we didn't talk about work at all.
we didn't talk about work at all, but you know what? Sometimes you don't have
Sometimes
to.
you don't have to.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Thank
and,
you.
we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Right.
That was so rogue. That was so rogue. Oh my god. I love it.
really want to know more about this ghost hunting. Yeah, like, no, honestly,